Hello my little Gorfians, and welcome back to another video. In this video we are discussing the art journey and whether or not you should give up on your art journey. Now, don't come at me with pitchforks, it's not what you think. I have asked myself on many occasions, and I know probably a lot of other beginner artists have as well, the question gets tossed around a lot, especially when you're going through really bad art block and you just feel like everything you make isn't living up to your brain's standards. And I'm here to tell you that if you're in that time and you're thinking that question, it's usually a no. You shouldn't, because it's your art, and if you find passion in creating and it makes you happy, then it is definitely worth it. It's worth the time, it's worth the effort, because it makes you happy. It makes you happy to create, whether you have a drive to create or you just have a feeling that you love what you do and you don't want to stop. And if quitting your art journey makes you upset, it's a definite no on that question. In the background you see some art from my beginning stage. It was definitely not the best in my opinion, because I see how my art changed since then. But at the time I found pride in all of these pieces. I thought these were my next Picasso moment. Seriously, I thought every time I posted a video like this, it was just gonna blow up and get massive. But did it? No, it didn't. And I felt horrible each time I saw that I wasn't getting views and I wasn't getting the likes and attention on these pieces. Now, are they bad? No, not at all. I mean, I think they look pretty good. There is a few things, anatomy-wise and maybe looks-wise, that may not suit the average person, but still, it was my art, and I enjoyed the process of creating it, and that's all that really matters to that. I like looking back on my old art because it shows me how much I have improved in that time, even if it's just from a week ago. I have noticed, and it's a little frustrating with me, honestly, I notice that every time I draw something, I have improved a great deal, and it gets annoying sometimes, honestly. This is not me boasting, because there was a long period where I would draw something and it would just look like utter crap in my eyes, and I would just rage, scribble out the whole page and be like, nope, I'm done, put it away. And I'm getting to the phase where I see improvement when it's very small, when it's very subtle. I don't think to the naked eye anybody can see the improvement in between drawings, but I personally do. Because I notice that if I start a project one week and then I go back to it the next week, I usually have improved because I've drawn in between that time and I've figured out what worked and what didn't, what served me and what did not serve me. And sometimes that's what you gotta do. You gotta figure out what serves you and what doesn't. A big issue with my art that I've always had. Sorry if I sound weird. It's hot right now, so I am sweating my buns off. But anyway, you gotta figure out what serves you and what doesn't in the long run. If you're not happy with something, look up tutorials. There's a bunch of big artists that are looking out to help you, because they know what it's been, how it is when you're starting that art journey. They know how scary it is to step out of that comfort zone, because sometimes you get so trapped in this spot, and I know specifically I was like a year ago, where I would try and draw and I just couldn't. No matter what, it was not looking how I wanted to, and every once in a while I'd get like a piece that boosted that passion, and that I loved, but it was rare and far in between to the point where I would go months without picking up my pencil, without picking up my drawing tablet. It would just sit on the shelf collecting dust, and I felt horrible in those months. I think that anytime I'm not drawing, I feel absolutely horrible, and it's not a good feeling. So here lately, and when I decided to start this series, even if I am not up to drawing, I notice I still do it, and I push through it. I try not to beat myself down on the little things, and I try and just push forward. Even if it doesn't look like it's working, I at least want to give it some shots, some tries, if you will. So you'll see after this piece, I really love this piece. It came out so good. I had no problems with it. Oh my god. I had no problems with this one. And it was heaven to do. But the next one you're gonna see after this speed paint, I had so many issues, and I spent a whole night on the other piece, a whole night just staying up trying to figure out what's going on. I even went into a Discord server and asked others for help. I was so frustrated at the point, and the advice I got was that I need to study anatomy more. I mean, they were nicer about it, of course, and I don't think that they were coming from a awful place. And it just, in the moment, it felt so disheartening, because I'm like, I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to get better and push myself, but it wasn't working, and it hurt me. I was a little butthurt, I'll admit, but I know that I do need to sit down and practice anatomy, and there's things I still need to learn, and I'm very far from learning everything to be able to pull out some magnificent piece every time, and I'm okay with that. And I'm actually really happy I ended up giving up on that piece and working on a different one, because it is turning out so good. I love it. It's so cute. But it's sometimes art is just, it beats you down, it wears you out, it wears you thin, because that's how learning is. I mean, who can learn algebra in a day? Who can become a millionaire in a month? A billionaire, a trillionaire? I know some people probably could, but that's besides the point. We're talking about the average person here. Nobody's gonna learn things that fast. You can't learn things in a night or a day, so don't expect yourself to. You gotta push for little things, and the little improvement that I want to see right now is I want to be able to make more fluid and dynamic poses. I want to work on my posing. I finally feel good with my coloring after learning how to play with coloring curves, and I'll do a video on that if you guys want. But I think I am finally at a place where I'm starting to learn more in my art and become way happier with everything. And let's switch from the sappy stuff and talk about this piece in the background. This is two of my OCs, Leo and Mai. I put off doing really much of anything with male OCs that I have envisioned for so long, and I'm starting to draw them more. And yes, I know it's Pride Month. You guys are gonna get some Yuri in the next speed paint that is coming up after this one, so yay. Technically Mai is poly, so she's still a Pride girl, but in my storyline with my Ghost and Neve, they are ghosts. I have no name for the creatures. They're not necessarily ghosts, but for simplistically state, simplistic. Okay, we're not going to say that word because I can't pronounce it. I'm going to be embarrassed. but just to keep them simple, basically, when they passed away, their skin, they remained into like a human state where only few people can see them, and their skin turns gray, and it gets deeper. As long as they're in the human world, their skin will turn a darker gray. Their hair will slowly become black with a more vibrant color, usually their favorite color. Mai's was red, and she represents lust and passion because she had... I still have to write her backstory, so... Anyway, I'm not going into too much detail, but in this moment, Mai is starting to lose her eye color. Now, something I almost forgot to mention is that along with their skin turning gray, their hair turning into a black with a vibrant stripe of whatever color, their eyes will fade into a white until their pupils are completely gone and their eyes become bright. It enhances their vision, but it's also at the risk of their own sanity if they have a weak mind. And Mai is strong, yes, but mentally she is very weak after everything she has gone through, and no therapy. So she's struggling, and the reason she is choosing to stay and not go into the afterlife is because Ghost, her older sister and the middle sister, is refusing to leave, and they don't want to leave Ghost behind. And Mai knows that her boys, Leo and the other two, her boyfriends, I guess, or fiancés, I don't know, that they're boy-toys, basically, but it's like a poly couple too, so it's weird. I need to flesh out their dynamic more, but Leo is like the more sensitive guy, and he knows what it means when she starts losing her eye color, so he's like very distraught over this, trying to beg her to go, because her and her boy toys, that's what I'm calling them for right now because I have no other, it's complicated. But he's begging her, but she is not really listening. They can go into the afterlife with her, they're phantoms, and they have a contract that they formed with her, but she is just not wanting to listen, and she is not really understanding because she doesn't want to leave her sisters behind. Neve has told her that if Mai goes, Neve will go, but that leaves Ghost alone, and neither of them want to do that. But Neve is worried for the youngest sister, Mai, and she knows that Mai is the only one that would not hold up. So it's gonna come down to a point in this story where Mai and Neve go back, and Ghost is left alone, and Ghost is my favorite character. I love Ghost, she's my favorite. I could talk about her all day, but I just love that I'm finally doing something with Mai. I draw her the most unironically, even though Ghost is my favorite. Because you got Mai, she is like your lustful character, she's a bimbo, she's just your girly pop figure. And then you have Neve, which is the oldest, and she is your religious girly, but she's like the good kind of religious. She doesn't really care. She's not like a Karen religious, you know what I mean. She's just like typical good girl fashion. And then you got Ghost, who is your typical bisexual tomboy, but she still wears dresses and stuff. And ironically, Ghost is the least fleshed out of all these characters, even though I have drawn her more, and she was the first one I created. But I'm starting to flesh out Mai more, and the more I do, the more I love these characters, and I fall in love with them. And I'm also doing something with two other OCs that you'll see in the next drawing, which is Candy, not her real name. She works at a adult club for adult dancing, I'll put it like that. But you'll see her with Faith, which is another character, and they all exist in the creepypasta realm. So I have not drawn them all interacting yet. I'm going to work on it though, promise. Now time for the struggle bus, and just your daily reminder that everybody blunders, everybody has mistakes and bad days, and I worked on this for so long, and it does not come out this way, but I am so proud of the result I got by switching to a different composition. So for this one, I originally wanted Faith holding a gun and kind of like threatening somebody, and I found this perfect reference for it, and I was struggling so much with Candy's body. It was not looking right, no matter how I twisted, how I turned her body. It just did not look right at all. I was so frustrated. This is hours of work. Hours. I'm not joking. Hours of work spent and wasted. And then I had this like gorgeous composition idea where I'd have XC, which is the spirit inside of Faith that possesses her from time to time. I had her flying out of the gun, and I just thought it would be like a really, really cool idea, and I loved it. I got Faith looking okay. I finally get her to look decent, and in the composition I actually really like. I feel like it isn't that stiff, and it looks good. But I go back to working on Candy, and Candy's face looks amazing. I'm having no problem with it. And then I do the hair, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is going well. This goes really well. And then go to her chest. I'm like, okay, this looks okay. And then I get down to her legs, and then I'm like, okay, now what the fuck do I do? Like, I tried one thing, and it did not look right. I was not liking the pose. Sure, I could have probably stopped it there and then went through and did a couple more pass-overs and subtly fixed it until it looked right, but I wasn't thinking. I was getting frustrated. I hadn't slept. So it was a challenge. I wasn't enjoying it at all. So I try and bring up the reference and sketch over her body, and then I tried to put it on my character, and it was not looking weird. So here's where I switched to the new composition with Faith and Candy. I had to skip doing XZ because I just didn't have room in the composition to add her in, sadly. But I originally wanted to do Candy on the bottom, but you see later I switch it to here. Actually, I'm switching it to being Faith instead, and I think it turned out so well, and it shows their positions in this relationship really well, and their dynamic too, because Candy is more of a tease. She's used to teasing, as she was also a adult club worker, and she's just used to teasing and playing with people in ways that one could imagine for her work, and I feel like she enjoys making Faith like this, because Faith is a crybaby and we love Faith. So getting into the lore, Candy was your average club worker, making her living trying to survive on what she could, as she came from the streets, and she found that she really enjoyed that kind of work because it gave her a purpose and a reason to get up and get dressed and look pretty. And soon after, she meets a guy, and he ends up offing her, and she kinda is like, what? And she ends up going back in time and preventing her own death, but the damage on her mental has already been done, and she loses that passion for what she does and ends up in Slender's mansion, because she lost her mind and went into the mental asylum for a while. I forgot to mention that. And Faith is a abandoned baby. She gets abandoned in Slender's forest when she was a baby, and he takes her in because he senses that she has potential and there's something different with her, and he's right, because Faith is imbued with this god. Well, not god, more like a devil, a demon, a dark entity called XZ. XZ is chaotic. When she's in control of Faith, she can kill Slender. She is strong enough to kill that man. And has almost on multiple occasions, and no, I am not changing the cringy lore because it's fun. So Faith ends up with like this really unhealthy obsession with Slender to the point where she mistakes it as being love, which is lit, but whatever. She mistakes it for something it's not, and Slender is like really uncomfortable with it, rightfully so, because she's like his daughter. And Candy comes into the frame, and Slender basically begs her, saying, I need you to get this woman away from me. Take her, deal with her, do something, because Slender is borderline afraid of her, and that's the original lore. I have changed a few things because the Slender thing is very weird. Very weird. Don't ask what child me was doing or thinking. But now it's more like she's Slender's daughter, basically, and she does his bidding. She is a very obedient child, but she cries and she is very sensitive to a lot of different things. I still have to flesh out her story more because there's a lot of reworking because of how weird the original concept I had for her was, because I wrote it when I was a child and I didn't understand a lot of things. So yeah, but these two are very much a work in progress, but I love my bimbo and my crybaby characters. They're so cute. I love them. They're my children. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it inspired you to pick up that pen and pencil again and keep at it, because eventually you'll get to a point where you can enjoy ranting about all your OCs again. And goodbye, my friends, my gore fiends, and my they thems.